All right, let's call to order this meeting. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call.
Commissioner Michael.
Yes.
Commissioner Money.
Yes.
Commissioner Saltzman. Absent. Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Mayor Jones.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, at this time, we're going to swear in Mr. Michaels.
With the results of the special election of April 6, 2021 finalized and certified by the Will County Clerk, and whereas Mr. James Michael Jr. is duly certified as the Commissioner-elect, Mr. Michael, are you ready to take the oath of office?
Yes.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, James Michael Jr., do solemnly swear
I, James Michael Jr., do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of Commissioner of Public Health and Safety for the City of Braidwood, Illinois,
of Commissioner of Public Health and Safety of the City of Braidwood, Illinois,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Commissioner.
All right, at this time, we'll open up public comment. If anybody's got anything they'd like to talk about, come on up. State your name, where you live.
George Kosek, Park Road, Braidwood. I ran the Route 66 Red Carpet Corridor event for City of Braidwood this year. I'd like to thank the city for their cooperation. Special thanks to Doug Money, Tony Altieri, Angie Hutton, Josh Pallotta with the ESDA. We keep a logbook on all the visitors that went through. We had people from 68 cities and towns in the state of Illinois. We had people from Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, Florida. We had one person from Idaho. This is a real good exposure for the city of Braidwood for this event. Thank you.
Thanks, George.
Jay Dixon, 195 North Lincoln Street. I'd like to thank Tony Altieri for taking care of the matter that I had with Faye the last meeting. Faye, we discussed that, and the part that you kept claiming was the state's is the city of Braidwood's to be fixed, and Tony took care of your job for you. Thank yous.
My guy done it that next morning.
I know at 9:15 in the morning,
Right.
9:15 in the morning, Tony had called me and told me that the job was done.
After I researched it, found out it wasn't a state. I had that man there the first thing that next morning.
Thank you.
Mike Ginta referenced the towns of Braidwood, the 3 remaining lots on Cermak. In accordance with my purchase agreement with the city, the fill and black dirt was to be provided by the city. All of the material that was stored on site over the past 2 years has disappeared. And about 2.5 weeks ago, I called Mr. Altieri to find out where we can get material so that we could finalize the three houses on Cermak. Mr. Altieri referred me to Mr. Smith because it fell under his jurisdiction, and Mr. Smith, we discussed it at length. We have different sections of material there, some that's fill, some that's black dirt, good for black dirt, for top surface, and he agreed that we could use that. However, he said it wasn't his to give, that if I got permission from City Hall, that he would agree to let me get material from there. And I in turn called Mr. Altieri and discussed it at length as to what we could do. And Mr. Altieri told me that we could use that material. So we coordinated our excavator, Mr. Bullheck, who's a local guy, to be there today. And then at 7:30 this morning, I got a phone call from Mr. Bullheck that he was advised that we couldn't use that material there. So I'm here to get a direction. The city has agreed to give me the material, or we could use the material. We've not abused the privilege at all. I need to know, can we get the material and backfill the 3 houses on Cermak Road?
I have no reason that you can't, because it's not leaving town. And as far as I'm concerned, I am okay with it, but I can't do it by myself. You get okay here, it's good, because it's not leaving town, it's for the city's purpose.
Well, everybody knows last time that, Mr. Bohack took some dirt out of there. I was crucified by Mr. Smith, said it was his dirt and that he wants it back, even though Mr. Bohack paid for the dirt. So I directed him to Mr. Smith just because he told me it was his dirt, and after I spoke to Mr. Gensel back and forth, I advised him that it's better off to come here, let you guys point him in the right direction so that I'm not, overstepping my boundaries, being as I was already told it's not my place. I think we got plenty of fill dirt, which I would advise, my advice would be to allow them to get the fill dirt to bring it up to grade, and then maybe some black dirt for the top, because we don't have an excessive amount of black dirt. But I told them that would be up to the council, as I was instructed that by Mr. Smith, that I have no say-so in anything, so it's up to you guys.
Yeah, the only thing, I wanted to know who was getting it before, and who done it. And I think that this whole city council knows, but I went through that giving some wood for 2 kids to have a campfire, and I was accused of stealing wood, and that's what I was going by. I wanted to be sure that everybody knows what's going on.
2 wrongs don't make a right. So like I said, it's up to whoever wants to be the person to allow it. Like I said, we have a massive bill back there of fill dirt.
We need to clean it up back there.
Yeah, what's your opinion, Doug?
If there's a development agreement that says the city is to provide the dirt, it sounds like city council's already made a decision. It's not up to this council to change the mind or reaffirm it. I haven't seen that agreement, but Mr.
I haven't
Gintz,
either. But
Mr. Gintz is saying that there is an agreement that says the city shall provide it. It's no one's to deny it because the previous council's already provided it.
there you go. We'll arrange it with the guys at city, down at the city tomorrow to see which piles they have for, that are used like that, and that's all right with you, Mr.
I would encourage, confirmation of it, of course,
Right.
but
Okay.
once it's confirmed, there's nothing really else to figure out.
All right, I will, maybe you can give me a call in the morning if you still have a copy of that. Just make
Thank
it
you.
easy so I don't have to, second guess it, and we'll be good to go.
All right, thank you, Mike. Anybody else, public comment? Come on up and.
Wayne Kansler, 226 Fossil Cove, also the president of the Shadow Ice 2 Association. I was pleased to see the last week's journal front page of the financial condition improving so much in the city. I know there have been cases where it hasn't been that great in the last few years. I've been coming to this council meeting probably regularly for the last 12 years. I probably got better attendance than everybody here on the board here at a time. For the last 3 administrations, I've been talking about an issue along Gobi Road, about a constant erosion issue created by all of the natural things that occur, including the storm water that comes from the city, enters into Hawk Lake, and then eventually filters into dinosaur along Willoughby Road and out the Claypool ditch, which is another issue entirely about having that ditch cleaned up so water flows. I've presented in the past to the 3 administrations about the problem that erosion is getting worse and worse. I've given written documentation to this council highlighting some of that. I know many of you have been out there and seen and aware of what that problem is. It is a safety issue. Every highway here that's on the state side that's near water or even a drainage ditch, there's a rail along it. There's that section that's about 100, 200 feet long or so, where the edge of the road is less than between 6 and 8 feet to where it drops off into that lake, which runs from 20 to 40 feet in depth. Now, the speed limit on Nogi Road is supposed to be 35 miles an hour. In practicality, it's about 60 miles an hour. We've had crews out there helping us, your crews out there, with the trucks and everything out there. It doesn't slow anybody down. They come zipping along that way too. That's an area that's waiting for an accident to happen and somebody to go into that water. And if you go into that water flying at 60 miles an hour, they're going to be far enough to be down in 60 feet of water. In the article in the paper, we're talking about all these funds that have been gotten from the state, from the county. Granted, you guys have been getting grants, which is great, helping the financial situation. I don't see why it's not a safety issue, because it says that the funds are to be used for road and infrastructure improvements. Part of a road is the safe road. And if you have a road that's not safe, I think you can use those funds, in my mind, to make that road safe. So a couple hundred feet of railing along that section of Nogi Road would help out. There's a sewer main that runs right along that same area that's eroding. And if it continues to erode, which it will be, that could be an additional problem for the infrastructure that belongs to the city. We are still working with the Department of Mines and Reclamation on a grant that was awarded, three commissions ago. I know you've done some work on it, Tony, looking into it too, and I appreciate that. But until that gets done, you have a real safety issue there. And I've heard the council talk about safety, and you're concerned for safety. You've had accidents that occurred because roads weren't repaired, you had cinders on it. Well, somebody falling on cinders, could be serious. Not as serious as a car flying into 60 feet of water. So I'm asking you to take another look at that and see if there are funds available to take a look and solve that safety issue. Thank you.
All right, anybody else with public comment? Come on up.
I don't know if this has anything to do with things, but we had a fire on the Office Street, 180 North Office Street, and the man next to us has set his on fire, and all that windy day had pushed all the fire by us, and I would like to know if we can possibly get something on there to replace the mobile home. I called the village and went to the village about 4 or 5 times, gave my phone number and all that. They said they were gonna work on it, so I had to come to the meeting tonight about it. I do have our land survey, and I also got a copy here. They gave us a copy in the office also to see what we have on our property. Because I'm not too sure, 4 years I've been in the town here, and I'm not too sure what we can have, what we can't have, and the length and the width and all that. But I did give some information to the people in the office about it. And right now, if you want to look at it, you can something to look at this.
That was the one. There was 2 trailers caught on fire on North Office Street. This was the one to the south. What he's looking to do is what our ordinances say, is more or less that once a trailer comes off, it doesn't go back on. I believe what he's doing is a manufactured home. I discussed with the girls a little bit today. They were asking about it. It would have to be put on a foundation, and then the house the front entrance door has to face the street it's addressed to. And I think that was one of the issues maybe you had.
Yeah.
Is that those ones you were looking at didn't have it.
Right.
That's just the regulation that it says that they have to face
Yeah,
the,
because I'm not too sure what, like I said, I've been first time in Braidwood here, and I don't know anything about
Right.
property,
right, so basically what it says is that you have, your front entrance door has to face the street that you're addressed to, which would be off the street.
Now, what about if there's like a patio door? Would that be like or does it have to be like a regular doors open up? See, at a mobile home now we got, and it just has a little plaque that says 180 on it, that's it. The doors that we have are on both sides, because it's a mobile home.
Right, right,
But,
and that was one of the reasons I couldn't give a definitive answer, because it says that you can't put a modular back on, it says that your door has to face the street it's addressed to, and it has to be on the foundation. He does have a 66-foot lot that technically doesn't conform, but kind of being his house burned, that I think it would be grandfathered in for a rebuild. He's got 66, so as long as he's 10 and 10 on both sides and 30 from the front, we meet all the setbacks, which I believe the home you're looking at does fit that. It's just,
yeah.
like I said, I think the biggest issue would be it needs to be the door as you're facing the street you're addressed to.
Now, I've heard, is this true or not, but you got like six months, once the mobile home is gone, you got 6 months to put something on the lot? I'm not too
To
sure.
put it back, to put another structure on there, there's no limit.
Oh, okay, somebody said
At
that,
one
yeah.
time, the rule was that if you pulled a modular, or a trailer off that either 30 or 60 days to put it right back on there.
Right.
With the same exact thing, same thing that was there. So, like, with the manufactured home, it's gonna be a little different. Like I said, there's other rules and regulations, but that's why we had the girls have you come here to kind of give everybody an idea what's
Right.
going on, so they can, understand where he's set back. Because like I said, I believe you got a time frame for your insurance company.
Yeah, everything's taken care of. All they have to do is, give the village here $100, and then I have to, call somebody up to demolish it or get rid of it off the property. And once that, then I can probably do what I have to do, maybe. If I get a foundation fixed and.
And do they have any of the homes that have the doors facing?
I don't know, you take a look at this if you want. I mean, this is what we have marked down. Now, like I said, I don't know if the patio door counts as the front door entrance or another door here. And we're looking at this model and this model here. But the problem is, we can't get it until like January or February, because it's all,
Booked up.
booked up and stuff, yes. So.
Yeah, so, this is the next step above a trailer. It's more of a sided trailer, still on steel frame and wheels. So I don't really have an answer for him on this one.
Isn't a manufacturer with no wheels, so it's two halves together? Or no, modular home.
Modular homes are there. Yeah, this one still sits, this brand still sits on a steel frame, so it technically is still a trailer.
Oh.
So I didn't have a good answer for this one, folks. So I thought that.
Is it going on to a foundation?
Yeah, we already have a foundation, and it's real thick, I don't know.
It's
how
just a
thick it is.
slab.
It's just a slab, but
Not an actual
according to this,
foundation.
it may fit on there. I
Right.
don't know. If not, we're looking for a house to buy. If I can't have anything in the way, I'll just sell the property.
Well, what they're talking about when they actually describe a foundation is a wall and a footing, not actually a slab.
Oh.
When it's just a flat piece of concrete, it's just a slab, it's not an actual foundation.
Okay.
So the foundation is with footings and walls all the way around it, so. Anybody?
Is it possible to mount that on a
Foundation,
block
yeah.
foundation? So it will
The only difference is you don't have we're supposed to have the, front door addressed, facing the
Right.
street it's addressed to, but, I don't know where we stand. I'll have to maybe get with Mr. Wellner on some of the rules and regulations this week.
Sure.
And, kind of go through it, and that's why I asked him to come tonight, kind of just explain to everybody here, so they have an idea what we can do for them.
I would think if it's got a patio door like that, it would be a door.
Well, it's,
Yeah,
Well,
I
it's
mean,
a
that's what
bay.
it shows on.
Oh, it's a bay
yeah,
window.
it's not, right, so.
If you put a bump out over the door that's there,
These are
across the
mine,
street.
they're too long. Ours is like 66.
Right, and the 66, I believe, just fits on the slab where, like you said, if you end
Yeah.
up putting a foundation under there, your length wouldn't matter, because you'd have to put it, you could do it anyway. So anyway, that's,
I tell you what I think, I live right behind in front of it, and the man's in trouble. And that's what the city's here for, to help people that's in trouble.
absolutely.
He's been burned out, and if you can help him, do so.
We are helping them, but we also, besides that, we definitely want to help everybody, but we still have to follow rules and regulations. We can't, because otherwise everyone that comes in here always has, and I'm not saying, I know what your situation is, but they always have heartaches, hardships, and everything, so if we don't get some kind of conformity, then it just keeps going, and where do we stop?
Yeah, I was talking to a lady out there in Elwood that deals with stuff like this, and she said, yeah, foundation, you have to have a foundation, like these are
Right.
4 and set, and, but like I said, we can't give it till.
And then we run on
January, February.
we run on other multiple issues of, we have a 1,200 square foot minimum, we have, so, you know, just, and I agree, this is a hardship case.
The land and everything.
Right.
Is this a single wide or a double wide?
Single. All right, let me, do with Mr. Wellner, we'll try and not even, I couldn't give you an answer on this one, because the rules say this, and they're here, so.
Sounds like it might have to go in front of the zoning board, might need maybe a couple variances.
Okay. Yeah, so we might do that, take it from the zoning board, they look at the rules and regulations, see where we could modify it.
Okay, where's the zoning board?
We would be here, and then they shift it once a month. So let, the girls have your number, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'm gonna discuss a little more with Mr. Wellner in the next day or so, and then, beginning of next week, we'll get back with you,
Okay.
and, try and get you set up to be on, towards the zoning board after I get, legal advice on where.
Okay, and if everything happens, I have to, a licensed, former electrician with that, no one from the town.
We have a whole list of them, so what we do is whenever someone's looking for that, you can come to City Hall, ask for a licensed contractor list.
Right.
That way they have everybody from start to finish.
Okay.
That way you know they're licensed and regulated, and it's good to go.
Okay, so come to the next council meeting?
I'm gonna get with you next week, I personally will be calling you back.
All right. Okay.
My name's Tony, so I'll be giving
Okay,
you
we
all.
have 2 numbers for myself, 2 numbers in my house.
Okay,
What was your name?
Jack Horner, Horner,
Thanks.
nursery rhyme, everybody?
Still open to public?
Yeah.
My name is Troy Aringer, and I live 183 North Mitchell Street. I've been dealing with flooding problems really bad ever since that pond went in. I've asked for help several times, and I keep getting a runaround. And they bring an engineer out, and the engineer says, well, we can't do this and we can't do that, and that's all I ever hear about it. This has been an ongoing thing for years now. I've lost my driveway. It's been washed away 3 times. I've had to have gravel brought in. My garage has had this much water running in one door and out the other door, and the foundation is starting to wash away. So I hired my own engineer to come out and plot and do a survey. And unfortunately, the printout that I got isn't legible, so I'll get that to you. But according to him, basically 95% of my property is in a flood zone now because that pond has got a 12-inch outlet, and I got that ditch that I've been pleading with the city to fill in for 20 years, and they won't do it. They keep telling me they can't do it. And if you follow that ditch drainage all the way down Mitchell Street, it goes down, I don't know, probably 3/4 of a mile, then it cuts back into the woods. Now, if you go back in the woods and you look at this ditch, okay, by my house it's this wide, which is never taken care of. I got 2 culverts running underneath my driveway. And one culvert doesn't even drain well because it's never taken care of. One culvert is completely blocked up with growth and garbage. But anyway, if you follow this drain ditch all the way down to where it curves into the woods, wherever it goes, it's narrowed down, it's all overgrown, and it's narrowed down to about this wide. And I talked to one of the guys from the city. He tells me he can't do nothing about it because he can't get a machine back there to clean it. Well, something needs to be done because my foundation on my garage is about washed away. And I got a 4x4 hole that got washed away, washed the whole concrete floor out of my garage that I had to bring rock in and patch myself. Everything in my garage has to be up on milk crates and tables because it floods. It's ridiculous. And I'm here to ask one last time for something to be done about this. Or I don't know what else to do. Do I need to hire an attorney along with my engineer? I don't know what else to do. I pleaded and pleaded and asked for help, and every time I do, I get the runaround. I'm not in charge of it. This guy's in charge of it. I talked to this guy. I can't do nothing. My hands are tied. They won't let me have no money. Okay? I'm not going to sit here and name names, and I'm not trying to make anybody look bad. All I'm asking is something to be done. This is my neighbor Dennis. He lives right next to me. He's got the same issue. We're the only two houses between the handicap building, the pond, the handicap building, and Kern Street. And according to my engineer, it's all a flood zone now. It's completely a flood zone. So we need to do something. Or, unfortunately, I don't want to spend the money no more than I want to be a bad guy here, but I will hire an attorney. I've asked for help several times, and nobody's doing nothing. I'm not getting no answers on anything. Anything to add, Dennis?
Well, other than what he said, basically, whenever there's a big rain, I gotta take everything inside my garage and put it up on crates, so that it doesn't get, damaged, by the flood water.
I mean, I got water this deep underneath my house every time it rains because the ditch isn't taken care of. I mean, if anybody drives by there, they can plainly see that it's not taken care of. It's washed the bank completely out on my property side. So it doesn't take much rain now for that ditch to fill up, and it comes in through my back of my property, and now it's not only is my garage getting affected, it's going underneath my house. Okay, and I need something done. I mean, whoever engineered that pond, according to my engineer, it wasn't right. It wasn't done right.
One other thing also, excuse me, Troy, is the outlets to go out to the street on Mitchell Street over there, those grates are always filled up with the town's garbage. All the debris, the styrofoam, cups, plastic bags, those things plug up, the water has no place to go. And it's not an issue of maintaining it, we can go clean it off right now, but the first big rain that we have is to fill in again. Those grates just catch all the garbage.
That's all I got. I just plead with you guys one last time before we take the next step to get something done. I mean, you guys wouldn't want your house. I mean, when it rains, my house looks like a houseboat. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And we got pictures.
I got pictures and videos.
Right back there this week. Look at it.
I
big pool that goes through the woods back there?
I don't know. We have all the water coming from the state, coming through his ditch that goes.
And what happens when the pond overflows, instead of going out in front of the pond, now it starts coming back out and draining into the ditch that's already overflowing.
It actually flows over the sidewalk in the back.
Right.
So I get water coming from the ditch overflowing and the pond overflowing, and it just runs through my property and his property in the front like a river. There's just, before the pond went in, our yards were holding a little bit of water when the ditch overflowed, but it took a lot of rain. This pond has made it tremendously worse. This last rain we got, I was underwater. I had water going in underneath my house. You can't expect somebody to live like that. That's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Ditch in the woods.
That's the third.
That feeds in the hog. Right, it comes back in the cove there.
It goes down there and it goes on the ground, and then it goes to
where there was a rail, by the way, on that water end, on, Wildwood, that's where it feeds into. And that ditch, yeah, it's not maintained well either. I mean, that one, the Claypool ditch, they're terrible. The culverts along Novi Road are terrible. At the intersection of, Cold City Road and Novi, the water's standing there constantly. Because it's higher over here, and the water just doesn't go, it doesn't go out, and should feed all the way right into the lake and into the Claypool drainage ditch. Claypool's got islands in their ditch.
Yeah, I don't understand how the water, that pond worked. To do the pond in there like that.
It's a mosquito haven over there too, that ditch never drains, there's water, in the middle of summer when there's no, you know, it's dry out, water sits in there, it just breeds mosquitoes.
All right, we'll have to look into it a little. But we've been over there and looked at it this week, because she is.
Right, I've been there a few times when they came out, Tony came out with an engineer, and I never heard no more about it. I was supposed to get a culvert extended on each side of my driveway, they gave me about that much of a culvert on one side, and that's all it's ever gotten done. I mean, the whole left-hand side of my driveway, the bank is completely washed away, so that ditch doesn't even have to fill up all the way to run into my property now, because it's flooded so many times.
Hi, good evening. My name is Greg Jolick from 176 Harbor Landing. At the last city council meeting 2 weeks ago, we had an in-depth discussion about the budget. During those budget discussions, Mr. Saltzman explicitly stated that the streets department budget would be for 4 full-time people and 0 part-time people. And I've since heard that, Mr. Smith, you're trying to hire a 5th person, which is over your allotted budget amount. So, can you please comment on that?
I'm not going to discuss it right now. I'll will it when it comes my time.
Well, I'd like, when it comes to your time, then can we open it for public discussion so I can follow up?
I would like to discuss it right now. Listen,
Okay.
I had $150,000 in the budget, and they wanted to cut it. And they said that if I would give that up, that they would take it out of water and sewer. So I give it up, and they didn't do what they
Are you
said.
talking about last year's budget?
I'm talking about last year's budget.
Okay, that's irrelevant. I'm talking about this year's budget.
I
You have a
have
new
no
budget
budget.
starting May 1st, and right now, you're trying to hire somebody over that budget.
Just a minute. Wait till I do go over it, then you say so. But I do not plan to go over it.
Do you plan to hire a 5th full-time person? Yes or
I have
no?
that right. If you want to read this, read it.
What is it?
You want it, read it. Here's the law. I follow the law. Take it with you.
I've read this already, and everybody on the council is supposed to follow their budget. Just because it says you have the right to hire does not mean you have the right to hire 100 people when you have a budget for 4 people.
If they had done what I said last year, I had 50,000 to go back in.
Last year's budget is irrelevant.
Wait. Look at the budget, look at the minutes that was discussed here when they made that budget, before.
Sir, we have a budget starting May 1st, and that budget is for 4 people. Anything that happened prior to May 1st right now is irrelevant. It's your responsibility to stick to your budget right now.
I told you what to do. Go back and look, see where it's at. I will not break the budget and that's all I can tell you.
So explain to me how that when you hire a fifth person, you're not breaking your budget.
I'm not arguing with you no more.
I'm not asking for arguing, I'm asking financially, how do you keep to your budget if you're gonna hire a
Your
fifth
3
person?
minutes is up.
I don't believe you're the timekeeper, Mr. Mayor.
You have 3 minutes, and it's up.
All right, well, with that comment then, if you think you can hire a fifth person, a sixth person, a seventh or eighth or ninth person that you don't have money for, then we need to look at the system of controls the city has in place. There should be 2 levels of controls. There should be, and this is outlined in the city ordinances, there should be financial controls that maybe next time I'll be able to ask Mr. Saltzman about. And there should also be controls within human resources. So hopefully somebody can shed some light at some point on human resources, policies, and procedures. Thank you.
I give up $150,000 last time when and it's supposed to come in with water and sewer, and it failed. I'd have had $50,000 turn in if it went through like it's supposed to. I've never went over my budget, rightly. I still ain't gonna do it. I've been here for a long time, and I've done a Mother's Day. I was out on my own, on my car, at my gas, working to see how this water was. And I went by his place, and I went by every place that needs, this town floods. And there ain't much you can do with the money that we have.
All right, anybody else public comment? Nobody public comment? All right, at this time we'll close public comment. All right, we need the approval of the minutes from April 27th. Need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that. Commissioner Michael.
Yes.
Commissioner Money.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, what I've got is to appoint, Irv Jones asked for a motion to approve the appointment of Michelle Hedrick to the Police and Fire Board for the city of Braidwood to replace the vacancy created by the resignation of Michael Pavecki. Michelle is a resident of Braidwood for over 20 years and raised a wonderful family here. She has long been invested in the community and has expressed her interest in future bettering our community by having a hand in selecting the best candidates to uphold the value of our city as first responders. So we need a motion.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Commissioner Michael.
Yes.
Commissioner Money.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Motion carries.
That's all I have. Tony, you have anything to say?
Yes, I was hoping to go in executive session to maybe discuss with Wayne a little bit about the issues that we're having with the budget issues with Mr. Smith hiring. So I did a little research just because I've been told that our city handbook that we have the rules that we're supposed to follow is not legitimate. Well, I found where it was enacted in June of 2012 by Commissioner Tessler, seconded by Mr. Hutton, everyone in favor. So it is a legitimate book, and in 2015, I found the mayor's ruling. They modified it, brought it up to code for that date. That one says that whenever we have to hire somebody, which the rule actually reads that, what Greg was talking about would be that you can't hire above your budget. So yes, at the beginning of the year, you have money in your budget. But when you spend that amount last year for the 4 people you had, and you hire over that, means you're going over budget. Just the way it is. And then it also says when you do it, that you have to put notices in the paper, notices on the wall, and all of the such. And also the 150 local contract and ours both say that you need to be drug tested, background checked, all of the above before you can start work. Well, Monday I got a call from a bunch of employees that, hey, we got a new guy here starting without any of the above, which would be hired by Mr. Smith and approved by Mr. Salzman, because he's the finance guy that does the rules and regulations. As he says, he is the financial guru. Yeah, I agree. So I don't understand how this happens. Here's just a little background. Me and the mayor, we take a ride. A lot of times the police chief's with us, but these 2 days, the mayor calls me up and says, let's go take a ride and see what's going on. 10:45 in the morning, we go down to Mr. Smith's building. The employees are sweeping the floor and straightening out tool bins, and when we asked them, what are you doing? They said, nobody's given us any direction to go. So, again, we have a sunny day, 0, nothing got done that day whatsoever, nothing, no grass cut, no anything. Another day, we go down there, and a certain employee, with no names being said, what time was it, 8:45 we got there? And punched in at 7 o'clock, went in the break room and passed out and was sleeping at almost 9 o'clock. Again, nothing being done. This same employee has been late 20 times out of 30 days, didn't show up 4 days, calling in 5 to 10 minutes before they're supposed to. Mr. Smith's foreman, Mr. Blotto, we discussed it, we wrote something up, should have been wrote up. He said, I'm gonna give it to Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith says, no, he's not gonna do anything about it. This would be the 3rd write-up for over 70 plus times of being late or not showing up. Or using when we get our vacation and sick time, after we use all that up, if you take more days off, you should be written up for it because you're using time you don't have. So we need more employees according to Mr. Smith because they are getting no direction. And I believe that if you look at the ordinance that Mr. Smith had done, he said, I believe it's 20-11, right here, signed by the council, approved here, says that he will give a weekly or daily duties to the street department and employees in writing, which does not happen, has never happened. Due to it being run so inefficiently, that is why we're having such issues where he believes that we need more employees. And again, I don't know what to tell you. We're supposed to let everybody know when we're gonna hire, when there's an opening. And what we have to do is if we have a current employee, he would have to be hired full-time before we could hire the next person. Which at this time, Mr. Smith signed paper a couple days ago to move him to full-time, so we're good. Job applications I have, I'm not gonna put names out, but when I went to pick it up, this one's dated on 12/27 of 19. Okay, this is 21. Okay, so this one here come back, a different one, dated 9/16 of 20. What's that? 8 months, 9 months ago? Nothing was posted in the paper. This is the same person that we knew from the very beginning was a political hire, no names, of course, and that it was gonna happen. We didn't care about your tax dollars whatsoever. All we know is that he was gonna be hired regardless, and he did. He came to work yesterday with no drug test, no background check. I didn't have a copy of the driver's license. I didn't have any of the prerequisites that need to be done to be hired according to the city ordinances and including the union ordinances, union rules and regulations. So Mr. Salzman allowed it. These two here, I hate to say it, but I feel they just are not looking out for the best part of Braidwood. They're looking out for their own. I'll leave it at that. it is not good. So we approximately spent in Mr. Smith's budget last year for labor about $198,000, okay? That was with 3 part-timers, or 3 full-timers, 1 part-timer. So we're moving the 4th one to full-time. So he does, like he says, he does have the power to hire and fire within your budget. Okay, so by hiring the 4th guy, he's got 216,000 in there, and it's gonna be close. It'll be 215 to 220 with the 4. By hiring the 5th one on there, that one is going to put it at around 260, 270. So 60, 70, 80,000 over budget for labor. When I discussed it with Mr. Smith, he goes, that's all right. I'll just work him for a few months and then I'll lay him off. Okay, so we had, me, the mayor, the whole council, Mr. Money, Mr. Michael, everybody discussed a month ago about we need part-time summer help. We can do and even the union agreed we could hire 2 $15 an hour guys. So the cost of this new employee will cost us the same thing per hour as 3 part-time guys would for the whole summer. So we could get 74 hours a week for the same amount of money we got this one. And in wintertime, even all our employees will agree that we don't even need the amount of people we have. That 1 or 2 could be laid off and it would be more than sufficient. But due to political pressure, Mr. Smith and Mr. Salzman have caved in and allowed your tax money to mean nothing to them. So I don't know what to tell anybody. I mean, you council, I don't know what you guys think about just doing whatever we want. I understand the commission form of government allows pretty vague rules and regulations. I mean, they're here, but they're definitely not followed.
Excuse me just a minute, I have something I want to ask here. I'll start with the lawyer first.
Here we go.
At least the full-time dude's a little rested though.
So within the first few years of being here, this council, starting from Mr. Lyons all the way across to here anyway, have gotten from the last budget before we got in, they were $2.2 million over budget. This year's budget, when it comes out, will be under budget. That means we stayed in our parameters for the first time, and we don't even know. We don't even know. All they have is they want the certain crew, which does include Mr. Saltman and Mr. Smith. They like to attack me, which I do know I'm in a position where I have this big bullseye on my head. At the beginning of the year, all of our equipment is broke down. So Mr. Smith was right. He did turn in $40,000 one year, but we had 2/3 of our equipment is broken down, did not run. So this last year, Mr. Bellato said, we got no equipment. What do we do? I said, start fixing everything. So we went out, get grants for a lot of fixes. We got everything back up and running. So Mr. Jones, the mayor, says, hey, we need to pick up a bigger piece of equipment, some bush hogs. So I went to 2 or 3 auctions. I ended up purchasing one. Well, when anybody knows your auction, I ended up accidentally purchasing 3 instead of 1, which was fine. It was all, first of all, it's grant money. It was not money out of your pockets. This was money from a grant. So I turned around, sold those 2, ended up with a $5,000 piece of equipment for $1,800. I thought that was a pretty good deal. But instead they do a mailer and crucify me about this and spending money that shouldn't be, which was grant money, so it's nothing out of our pocket. Yet we have no problem spending $100,000 on a friend, hiring a friend to do it with your money. So we don't care about your money. This is actually your money. So I might be on a little rant, but me, Mayor, Mr. Lyons, Mr. Michaels, Mr. Money, Adam, we bust our butt. Very, very much so, to get because we care about your tax dollars, and we are getting it where it needs to be. The only problem is, I have 2 thorns that just want to stab me in the back and crucify me and hand out stuff that says what can and can't be done. So, when there's a state ordinance, I'm guessing that's what this says, that says what the commissioner can do. The city actually has its own budget, or its own handbook, that kind of regulates how we want things to run. And which, at the time, was passed even by Mr. Smith at the time, but until it doesn't suit us. And then we read portions, like if some people see stuff, if you look at, we'll see part of it highlighted, we'll use this half but not this half. Or it says if the town is over 50,000, Well, we don't look at that, we use the bottom part that just says what you can do. If it says over 50, under 50,000, or over 50,000, it has nothing to do with us. We're doing the best we can for you people. We need you people to voice your opinion, stand up and tell certain people, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Smith, what you'd like to see. I don't even know what to say,
I'd like to say one thing, about 90% of what you said is wrong. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Listen, council, I will not go over the budget. And I'll see to it. But I want it done right. In fact,
He could be right, because what would happen is, once we put this extra person on, okay, so the 216 will get 4 guys for the year. But if we hire the 5th one, that means in September, October, we're gonna be out of money, we have to lay our whole street department off. Plain and simple, there's no two ways around that, it's the definition, if you're not
Don't count
gonna go over.
chickens till the eggs hatch. That's what I'm telling you.
Greg, you're accountant. If I'm gonna spend $216,000 last year for the same people, is it gonna change this year? It'll go up because they all got raises.
I'll tell you, look at your wages and look what you had.
Look at my wages.
And you tell these people that you're just working for nothing.
Now, I didn't say I'm working for nothing. I'm working for a fair wage, and if anybody can tell me that bringing in 1.5 million, along with working with the chief, we've cut $1 million off our expenditures for the first year, which means 4 years is $4 million, along with Mr. Money and Adam and Mr. Michaels, who cut other ones, we've cut $3 to $4 million. If somebody's gonna tell you that I'm not worth my $96,000 that I make, go check the other towns what everybody makes. Because to me, if I bring in $1 million in 4 years, that's 400,000. I bring in $1 million. So I use 2.5 times my wages just on that. Just on that. Nothing about the other millions that he's worked hard for. We get advice from him. He keeps us in line. We may not like it, but he does it. And along with these guys. You tell us if we're not worth your money. We're under budget. This last 4 years, Mr. Smith voted for being $5 million over budget in 4 years. He voted yes to everything. Please tell us which direction you would like to go. Thank you.
Go back to all your meetings, every one of them, and I asked the man that was hired, will your budget take it? He said, you take care of your budget, I'll take care of mine. Every meeting, go back to the record. You see, I said, will your budget take it? I'm not the bookkeeper.
Which brings up a very good point. I talked to a certain person, I won't give any names, that asked, do we receive a monthly spot on where our budget is that anybody could look at? And if so, is it just Mr. Money's spot to worry about his department and Mr. Michael's to worry about the police, or is it all of their job to look over everyone? I look over all of them, and if I see something wrong, I suggest it. I'm not the boss. I'm just managing stuff for them. I bring it to them. They all look over the entire budget. And that goes all the way down. How many times do me and Chief, what, 3-4 times a week we go over numbers? I mean, this is everybody's job. And if I say, can you guys do it? Well, we're $2 million over, and they say, oh yeah, okay, I'm good. Research, due diligence. You can't get by without it. That's all I have.
Question. So, if your plan is to hire a 5th person now and lay somebody off later, you're gonna incur additional costs. You're gonna incur additional costs of having to pay unemployment compensation for how many weeks? So you gotta factor that into your budget equation as well as it just hiring somebody now and laying somebody off in 3 months is just a ridiculous way to operate.
No, he actually told me that the reason he would do that is this way, this person who is a friend, political hire of one of the ex-council members, that this way they secure a position.
I have some of this whole congregation knows to be facts. Our roads are going to flop because we ain't getting gravel around the side. And OSHA says you can't do it without your flagger. And it calls for that.
I watched Wilmington, 3 guys put miles of shoulder on the road the other day.
You can't do it?
I could.
OSHA says you can't do it.
I don't care, you can get it done, they do it all over.
Flagger, Bobcat driver, truck driver. 3.
It's called a moving operation.
There you go, and then it comes from county. Do you need 6 to do foot gravel? 5, 4, 3.
The MUTCD states that whenever you're in a moving operation, you don't need signage and you don't need flag.
As long as you're moving, which means they're going down the road at the same time. That's county for you.
When you look at Nicor and AT&T, they sit on the side of the road with open.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to our clerk.
Well, been a busy week, of ensuring our employees and first responders remain happy as the new labor contracts take effect, anniversaries pass, and new employees come in, and some employees go to new places. My FOIA report, I did one FOIA for police department expenditures, which was 2 hours. I did one for water well setback for a particular address in town, 2 hours. And I did one for a report for OSHA's findings from the inspection of 4/28/21, which took about a half hour. Year to date, 34 FOIAs for 52 hours of work. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, the guru is not here tonight. So, streets and public improvements.
Before we get to that, does anyone we should still take action on the payment of bills and payroll, if someone wants to take over his motions, if they're capable?
Just pay bills.
All right.
I have a question. On page 13, I have a bill here from the engineer doing some work on a road. I have not called him. I have not had no contact, and I want to know who has authorized that. But it stuck out of my budget.
So just a short explanation on that is streets will come out of the street budget. I know that's a difficult one to do, but at the last meeting, we discussed with Mr. Weber that we were looking to do some repairs on streets, and the foreman gave us a list of streets he would like to have recapped if possible, which we received. I think the MFT grant that I got for that was $408,000 to recap some of our roads. So as we're speaking and we talk to the engineer who's there and tell him we're looking to do this, and his foreman gets him a list of roads to look at, he would go look at them, and it was what, $400? $390?
Around $400. But my question is, why wasn't I contacted about this first?
Because you said at this meeting, directing Mr. Weber, that we want to look at these roads, so that is directing him to do this.
First of all, now listen.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I haven't got no information since Todd left, and he's left me, and he said he had 80-something thousand, and I've never got no report, and I've got nothing of how much I know what I've spent. I spent for salt and some
How much did you
gravel
spend on salt?
and nothing else, but I don't know where I'm at. I am wanting to fix the worst streets, and I do not have enough money to fix what I need. And who's taking my job? I'm supposed to know how much money I got, and I should be looking. I got some streets that's almost unpassable. I can't fix them all.
Which street is that? It's unpassable.
Smith Lane, one of them.
So again,
they
and I guess I'll let the council know, everyone from Mr. Michaels through, that if you are inquiring or need some information,
I,
you have to ask.
I wanna be notified so that I can plan. You need to start now and know how much you can spend and have to get it out before winter. Just about any street you wanna name is in bad shape because I don't have the gravel around. And I have had one person down there because they had their days off and everything. This and that. I've been running. Do you know mine? I started out with 6 men years ago, and it just keeps cutting.
So the
You could have 30 men, if they aren't doing anything, it doesn't matter.
I don't need 6.
So the 6 men was when we were $2 million over
And you
budget.
got to mow it.
When we walked in, Mr. Lyons, how many did you cut?
We had 18 full-time officers at the time, and I think I had 10.
Okay, and so he cut that many. We asked him to cut 1. That was, 2 would have been great, but we asked for 1. Instead, the 2 that were here went to the 150, they got their other card, they left. Okay, so that worked for them, it worked for us. But just because we let a few guys go, doesn't mean we keep spending over budget. We're trying to care for your dollars, and it's working, for the most part. Again, I would put the challenge to Mr. Smith that allow myself or Mr. Jones to go down there and run his department for 1 month. And do my own job at the same time. No?
I didn't hear what you said.
I said, I would challenge you to allow the mayor or myself to oversee your department for 1 month.
No, indeed not, because I was elected to it. And you, look, I'm trying to stay with what they have told me. I have worked. I've never went over the budget, still didn't go over the budget if you understand what I'm trying to say. But just, well, no argument. This
Does anybody think that you should hold somebody accountable if they're late 20 out of 30 days?
Absolutely.
Regardless if they're maybe your granddaughter? Just throwing it out there, I don't know, maybe it's just me.
Can I run yours for 30 days?
Absolutely, absolutely. You come sit in my office and walk with me for 1
You let
day.
me have all
One
that
day.
big pay?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can run my job at the
You
same
wanna do
time?
it, and I'll take yours. You couldn't do mine for 1 day. 30 minutes, you couldn't go from, I get here at 7 in the morning till 7:30. You could not do that 30 minutes. You got an engineer from running a boiler department, when was that? 25 years ago. He's got an engineering degree or certificate, because he could keep a furnace running.
I got a license. Read here, if you could read. I got a stationary engineer. That's a German. No, I ain't giving it to you.
So what did you do there?
Please be adults. This is
I have a
ridiculous
license
that we have to
right
listen to
here
this
for a
every month.
stationary engineer, and he tells me I can't tie my shoes.
This is costing us hundreds of thousands
But,
of
you know,
dollars.
this
There's gotta be
happens
some
every
time.
month. We're all adults. You know, there's people up here that I have voted for that I don't always agree with what they're doing, and there's people that I voted against, and sometimes they have some good ideas. But we're all adults, and every month I come to this meeting, and it's just lowered to junior high status. It's sad.
It's sad. You better believe it
It's
is.
just sad.
I'd like to say one thing. This is my 4th term. Had no problem. Had no problem. I had problems from day one. Now, I'm not gonna tell you why.
Well, people start looking into stuff, so maybe that's why.
Let's move on.
Yeah, what?
Zoom lanes. Report on the bills. For payment of the bills.
Yeah, only thing I'd like to know is POs. I'd like to be notified before they take money out of my budget. Because you chop it, then you say, yeah, over your budget. I would like to know ahead of time, if possible. Now, can't know when the big snow comes and all that, I know that. But another thing I'd like to say while I'm talking, you can't hire part-time here every year with the equipment that we have and the expense it is to fix it. You gotta have somebody who knows what they're doing. And it looks forward to for year after year.
All right,
Let's move on.
public buildings and property.
I already did the bills there.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're doing the bills.
All right, so for the bills, looking for a motion from the council to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $137,647.40.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Commissioner Michael,
Yes.
Commissioner Money,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
Motion carries. Payment of the payroll. Payroll comes to a total of $82,847.50. Looking for a motion to approve payroll.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Commissioner Michael,
Yes.
Commissioner Money,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Jones.
Yes.
All done?
All right. Public buildings and properties.
Thank you. Since the last meeting, we've had Thompson Commercial was out here to do the fire alarm inspection. It's an annual inspection.
Skip one.
We had pipe.
Preaching public improvement, I never, that's mine. Skipped it.
He asked you when you talked.
I don't have anything to say, except I'd like to say to you, if I had to give up that $150,000 to get what they promised, it's in the minutes, I would have turned in $50,000 instead of being over budget. But I didn't get the promise that they give. I would have stayed $50,000 over budget. You hear that, everybody? I did not go over the budget if the city council has stayed with what they promised. It's in the minutes.
More than another full-timer.
That's all I got.
All right, public health and safety. No, I'm sorry.
Back to what I was saying.
You're driving me nuts.
Pipeco was here to do the sprinkler and backflow device inspections. We had to vacuum out the head works. It was full of gravel after the big heavy rain we had. We got our UV system back online before May 1st, according to our permit. We mowed and trimmed around the plants, cleaned clarifiers, did some other repairs, and worked on a manhole in